Well, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will present the budget at a time when the global economy is reeling under recessionary pressures. Aiding GDP growth while maintaining the fiscal deficit target will be a tough job for the Finance Minister. This is also the last full budget of this government, and expectations are high among the common man and the salary taxpayers as well, that there will be some changes in the income tax rates, income tax slabs, or even a new income tax regime.
Right then, let us get straight to our colleague Parikshit Luthra, who joins us from outside the parliament, where the union budget will be presented in just a few hours from now. Parikshit, tell us what's happening out there and what is one to expect?
We have been hearing that Budget 2023 could be dedicated to the Indian middle class. We hear that the government will work towards reducing the tax burden on the aspirational Indian, putting more disposable income in the hands of the middle classes. At the same time, there is an expectation that a new tax slab will be introduced for the 8 to 10 lakh category, and the tax rate here will be reduced from 20% to 10%. Also, when it comes to those earning more than 10 lakh rupees per annum, the tax rate could be reduced from 30% to 25%. Increase in benefits under ATC for housing loan and medical insurance are also among the key expectations. On the job fronts, we believe that Budget 2023 could have a big focus on jobs, with a scheme to increase employment in urban areas, a scheme to give loans to gig workers. On MSMEs, the Finance Minister may nudge banks to lend more with interest subvention schemes and loans without collateral. The capex push for infrastructure will continue in Budget 2023. We could see announcements on lifestyle for environment, on clean energy, on battery storage as well. This is the last full budget ahead of the general election next year, and the government will try to strike a balance between populism on one side and fiscal discipline.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Parikshit. Well, in fact, our Prime Minister, speaking ahead of the budget session, said that this year's budget will not only try to fulfill the hopes and aspirations of the common man in India, but also be the ray of hope to the world.
डावाडोल विश्व की आर्थिक परिस्थिति में भारत का बजट भारत के सामान्य मानवी की आशा आकांक्षाओं को तो पूरा करने का प्रयास करेगा ही, लेकिन विश्व जो आशा की किरण देख रहा है, उसे वो और अधिक प्रकाशमान नजर आए। मुझे पूरा भरोसा है निर्मला जी इन अपेक्षाओं को पूर्ण करने के लिए भरपूर प्रयास करेगी। हमारी कार्य संस्कृति के केंद्र बिंदु में भी एक ही विचार रहा है, इंडिया फर्स्ट, सिटीजन फर्स्ट। सबसे पहले देश, सबसे पहले देशवासी, उसी भावना को आगे बढ़ाते हुए ये बजट सत्र में भी तकरार भी रहेगी, लेकिन तकरीर भी तो होनी चाहिए।
All right, so the stage is set, but before the big match, let's talk about the pitch report. What should we look out for in terms of a trade setup for today? Nigel, not only the budget, we have, the US FOMC meet outcome later today as well. How does the pitch look?
Well, Mangalam, 1 down, 2 to go. You had the Adani FPO that the market was a little bit worried about. That sailed through. Now all eyes on Budget 2023. And later tonight, we'll get the Fed decision as well. So let's hope those two as well go according to plan. For starters, the Budget 2023, you don't want any untoward decision, something that will hurt the markets. And the second factor is 25 basis points is probably baked in terms of the Fed decision. What is the FIs doing, though, in the FNO market? Well, yesterday, they added shorts big time. Close to around 22,000 short contracts is what they added in trade yesterday. That's in the ratio of close to around 7 shorts for 1 long position. And that takes the short positioning to around 82%. Or put it differently, the net short positions, that's the short minus the long positions, is nearly around 95,000 short contracts. So they are clearly expecting a bit of a downtick. If that doesn't come about, you're going to be seeing a big short covering bounce that plays out. But, it seems they're hedging themselves because they bought some calls as well, which is a bit of a bullish indicator. And they're writing puts. So maybe they don't expect a sharp fall, at least in the near term. But Mangalam, what does history suggest, in terms of the FI positioning and the moves?
As far as history is concerned, I was looking at the FII positioning ahead of the budget for the last 7 years in a row. 4 times they've gone into the budget net long. I mean, Feb 2017, they were 78% net long. Feb 2019, they were 41% net long. So that was the first time in the last 7 years that they were net short. And then Feb 2021, they were 63% net long. How do they go into today's trading session? Just 18% net long. In the past, if the history is something to go by, every time they've been extremely long on the index. Feb 2017, for instance, 78% long exposure. The Nifty was up 1.8%. Feb 2021, 63% long exposure. The Nifty was up 4.7%. However, when they were net short, say Feb 2020, the Nifty actually fell by about 2.5%. They were net short by about 85%, net long just 15%. The question is what happens today? Because we've already seen a big decline. And secondly, Feb 2020 decline could also be attributed to the coronavirus uncertainty more than the budget. So the question again, 3 question marks. Where do we go here?
Well, Mangalam, since you spoke about the pitch report, it's reminding me a little bit about Rahul Dravid. I'll tell you why. Because the FIs, they're coming in there and they're selling big time. Yesterday as well, they sold close to around 5,500 crores. And if you look at it, on an average, for 3 sessions, they have been selling close to around 6,000 crores per day. So, it's like those Australian bowlers coming in there, they're bending their back, putting their best effort on the green top. However, Rahul Dravid is batting that out. The Nifty is down 200 points when you have 6,000 crores per day of net sell number, in the last 3 sessions or so. So that's telling you the kind of resilience in our markets.
Yeah, you're talking about the Australian cricket innings, etc. It reminds me of Sachin Tendulkar as well, who never hit a cover drive and just ensured that he stays on the ground, made 241. The FIs, this month itself, they've sold almost 42,000 crores. In fact, in this, after selling 2.5 lakh crores in the previous year, the DIIs are playing their part and the Nifty has corrected about 1,200 points from its all-time high. So there has been some correction already. Is there room for up move is what we're looking at. What's the range?
Well, Mangalam, we always track the options data very closely, right? And it seems as fun and games have started because the 18,500 call and the 16,700 put, which is very, very far away from where we are at currently. They were very active yesterday. Yeah. So you require something really, spectacular to happen to see the market move in that direction, close to around 800 points on the upside or maybe 1,000 points on the downside. So that appears a bit of a punt. But what's encouraging for me is the 17,400 put. Well, there appears that is being written over the last few days. So now we are still in the range. We've been talking about range. Earlier, the range was around 17,800 to around 18,200. Now that range has got reset. 17,400 on the downside to around 17,850 on the upside. That's the new range that I'm looking at. And I expect it to be maintained. In terms of levels you're looking at, well, the 20 as well as the 100 DMA, they come in closer to around the 17,950. So, that's a firm resistance according to me. Right. While the 200 DMA, I think that level is going to hold out. And my gut is, if there's no negative surprise, maybe we've made a bit of a near-term bottom around that 17,350, 17,400 odd mark. But what else, Mangalam?
That's, absolutely spot on as far as the range is concerned, Nigel. The question is what can make or break this range, right? On the way down, we will look at any nasty surprise coming in. That could break that range. But on the way up, if there's no nasty surprise coming in, then there could be a big up move. So what are the things that we're watching out for in the budget? The first one from the stock market standpoint, no announcement from a stock market related tax announcement coming in would be extremely positive. Any SOPs coming in to boost consumption, positive for all the FMCG consumer discretionary names. We'll watch out for what the government does to spur economic growth. Is it via the capex route? Is it via the spending route? Then accordingly, those stocks will move around. And in terms of stock, the most important stock to watch out for every budget is ITC. Any sort of announcement coming in on the tobacco tax regime would move ITC. That's as far as the budget is concerned. The US Fed outcome, that's important as well. Like you said, 25 basis points hiked in, or rather the hike has been priced in. The Nasdaq is up 10% this month, and history suggests that every time the S&P 500 is up 5% in January.
Good year, go ahead.
The good year, I mean, it's 30% higher for the year. So that's what history suggests. Let's see what we'll do this time around. In fact, let's also talk about the global pitch this time. The global markets will be tracking this morning is the FOMC decision, which is due later today. Ahead of that, we've seen a big rally on Wall Street after a big decline that we saw in the previous year itself. We have the Asian markets, which are starting on the front foot too. We have the Taiwanese index up about 0.6%. The Hang Seng is up about 0.5%. Nikkei doing extremely well as well. What does all of this mean for the SGX Nifty? Well, a 120-point bump up at the start itself before the budget session. Let's see where we go.
All right. Well, on the US markets, Wall Street rallied on the last day of January with the Dow Jones closing over 1%,